MOTROLIX.
So the first thing I noticed about the Silverado EV is that there is no button, there's no engine start button anywhere here. So all it says is press the brake to start if you have the key fob on you. In this case, I do. Here's the key fob. So I will press the brake and voila, it starts up and you don't need to press anything. All you got to do is press the brake. Okay, so here I am behind the wheel of the all-new 2024 Chevy Silverado EV, the electric Chevy Silverado. This is not a hybrid. This is not something else. This is pure battery electric, and this is my first time driving it. For those of you who are really into the specifics, I will tell you right now that this is the 4WT trim level, meaning that this is the highest end, the highest trim level of the work truck family. So 4WT, meaning it starts off lower into the numbers range, so 1WT, then it goes 2WT, 3WT, and then this here, 4WT, which is the best equipped Silverado EV work truck. So, first impressions, and again, this is my first time ever driving it, my first 20 seconds behind the wheel. First impressions, this thing feels good. It feels big. It feels like a truck. It feels substantial. And that all is very much in line with the, there was one that just passed me, another 2024 Silverado EV work truck. So, as I was saying, this thing just off the bat feels big, substantial. It feels very truck-like. But it feels truck-like with the added benefit of having an electric powertrain. And when I say added benefit, what I mean is it has the ability to just instantly accelerate like this. Yep, you might hear all this stuff flying around that I have loose in the center console and in the bins down here. But boy, does this thing feel good. It really does feel, you know, the instant acceleration, the instant power, the instant torque. It really does feel good in this vehicle. The handling does not feel truck-like. This is something that is quite interesting. I thought that this was going to drive similar, in a similar fashion as the GMC Hummer EV. These do not drive like body-on-frame vehicles. Instead, they drive very different. They don't drive like unibody vehicles, and they don't drive like body-on-frame vehicles. Instead, they drive kind of in between. They essentially drive like right in between something that's body on frame and something that's unibody. So you do have more, it feels like you have more control over the, when you start steering this thing, you don't get the massive body roll that you typically get in a body on frame truck, like the current Chevy Silverado with the internal combustion engines. Instead, this thing is, it just feels more lively, it feels more agile, and it just feels more athletic as a result of it not being body on frame. This construction, it's what GM internally calls ULTI-BODY, which is essentially the battery pack gets slid in to the bottom end of the vehicle itself. So you do have the heaviest component of the vehicle, which is the battery pack. It does reside at the very bottom of the vehicle, and therefore it results in a very low center of gravity, which is nice. As for the NVH, the noise, vibration, and harshness levels, this thing does really communicate more tire noise. So as I'm steering through these turns, these various turns here, I do feel and hear, rather, I hear the tires. Like for instance, I'm gonna come up to this turn here. Okay, I'm gonna make this turn, and yeah, I don't hear the engine. All I hear is the tires just gripping, pulling, and, you know, obviously tracking the truck in whichever direction I'm going. So you do hear a lot more tire noise than you do anything else. Obviously, with no engine noise being present, that is clearly what's taking place. As for seating and visibility, they're both good. So the seat itself is quite comfortable. I do like how the seat feels. I think it's one of the most, if not the most comfortable seat in a work truck. So that's great. It's actually very cushy, very comfortable. There's just enough bolstering for me here. And then as for the material itself, it is a nice leatherette material. I do like the way it feels. It feels very close to leather, nice and soft, plushy. Obviously, it's not leather, but hey, if it passes for leather, then that's all that counts, right? Especially, again, this is a work truck, so we have to keep that in mind as we're talking about this vehicle. Other things about the seating position. So the armrests. This center armrest, it is soft. The material on which your arm is resting, it is soft, so that's nice. That is not the case for the outboard armrest, this one here. This thing is a hard plastic. I guess that is part of the work truck mantra, and part of the whole, the whole purpose of a work truck is for it to be durable, and that is certainly the case. This armrest, this whole door panel, actually, it is very hard, and it is certainly durable. As for the visibility, it is also quite good. The windshield is large, it is expansive, you can see a lot of things through it. The same thing goes for the front side windows as well as the rear side windows. However, the A-pillars, they are huge. They are thick, they are huge. The base of the A-pillar is very wide, it's very big, and so that does limit the outward visibility towards the corners of the truck. But beyond that, visibility is actually very good. I do feel like I am sitting in a truck here. That's a very important thing for, I think, a lot of electric vehicles. As I mentioned earlier, there are some folks who feel like, if you get an electric vehicle, you're kind of getting a wimpy vehicle, perhaps. You're getting something that's, not really a truck. And that is not the case whatsoever here in the Silverado W2. I feel like I am sitting in a real truck. The turn signal lever is within reach. That's nice. That has been something that GM, as of late, for whatever reason, has started to push away from the steering wheel. I'm not quite sure why they're doing that, but in the Silverado and the new Chevy Suburban and Tahoe, even the new Chevy Corvette C8, the turn signal stalk has been getting pushed further and further away from the steering wheel, necessitating the driver to essentially, move the hand when wanting to engage the turn signal. That's not the case here at all, which is great news. I do like seeing the long hood when you're driving here. It feels like you're driving a truck, which is, it's good. This doesn't communicate like it's, oh, I'm an electric car and I'm just an electric thing and I'm a little pretty thing. No, this thing has the feel of being powerful. Just the overall way in which it looks, the overall what it delivers, what it communicates to the driver and the passengers from the long hood, kind of the very upright ride, very powerful kind of stance. I was able to talk to some engineers, and they explained that the visibility in the Silverado EV is actually improved over the visibility, the outward visibility of the Silverado 1500 internal combustion engine model. And one of the reasons why is that they actually dropped the cowl, the height of the cowl down by a substantial amount. And that is what is contributing to the overall better outward visibility of this model versus that of the Silverado 1500. All right, let's accelerate. Whoa! Acceleration's very good. This is an effortless acceleration, which is essentially the same thing. It's the same thing that happens with a lot of EVs, which is, the acceleration comes on strong. The acceleration is effortless, and it just goes. And you compare that to the ICE Silverado 1500. which, you know, you really have to push that truck to get it going. No matter which engine you go with, whether it's the 5.3 or the 6.2 or the 2.7 liter turbo gasoline engines, no matter which one of those you go with, even the 3 liter turbo diesel, whichever one you go with, you end up with the feeling that if you really want to go fast, you really have to push the truck. That's the internal combustion engine Silverado 1500. By comparison, the Silverado EV, even in this work truck configuration, man, it has the power, and that power, it feels simply effortless. The road surface here that I'm driving on right now, it's a bit rough, it's a bit bumpy. I'm in Metro Detroit, and as many automotive engineers already probably know, this is a great place to do chassis calibration work, just because of how, you know, how subpar these roads are. And that is to say that this is a good place to also do, you know, to also figure out how a vehicle behaves when it is on rough road surfaces. The ride, it's not bad. There's a lot of these are coil springs, so this is not the adaptive air ride control system that is used in higher trims of the Silverado EV. No, this is just the normal coils here, not adaptive, not airbags at all. It's just the normal coils, and so it's basically kind of your base suspension system. And it feels good. The suspension does a good job at absorbing the bumps. Now I'm on a very smooth road, and here the Silverado EV work truck performs magnificently. The ride is very smooth, as you would expect on a smooth road. No surprise there. But you do hear, as soon as I even do one of these kind of moves, when I just steer it a bit and I lean into the turn, I do hear the tire a lot more, and that goes back to what I mentioned earlier. There's quite a bit more noticeable tire noise now that the powertrain, now that the engine sound is gone. So my daily driver, as those of you who have been watching the MOTROLIX channel and reading GMauthority.com might already know, my daily driver is a Corvette C7 Grand Sport, and it is considered to be a fast car. But I gotta say, this Silverado EV feels faster than my Corvette C7 Grand Sport, and that's saying something, because one, you know, my Corvette is a dedicated sports car. It is a dedicated thoroughbred sports car, whereas this, well, this is a dedicated pickup truck. And you would never think that a full-size pickup truck weighing somewhere in the vicinity of 8,000 pounds would, you know, perform anywhere close to this. But it does. It really, truly does. Boy, this is good. This is good. Oh man, here I am in a very tight parking lot. This truck does not, this particular truck, this work truck, does not have rear wheel steer, but it was able to make this U-turn pretty well. I had to drive up on some grass back there, but only a little bit, not that much. So that's very good. It certainly feels like it has a tight turning radius. Here I am coming out of a turn, right-hand turn. And I do like the sound that it also makes. As you probably know, the powertrain in an electric vehicle, there's no sound to it. There's nothing really, not much going on there. But Chevy did introduce some artificial digital sounds into the cabin, and it does sound quite nice. I really am a big fan of the way this sounds right here. All right, let's drive in some gravel here. Some bumpy gravel. Yeah, actually here, the Silverado EV almost feels better than it does on the rough pavement. So that's quite interesting. Didn't expect that. The shocks do a great job of absorbing the bumps. Yeah, this feels actually quite nice, quite solid overall. So that's a big plus. I really would love to do one of these. Kicked up some dust. The braking. Let's talk about the braking for a second. Now, I have been driving this truck in one pedal driving mode this whole time. So that really brakes the vehicle for me. But if I start to use the brake pedal myself, that's my camera that you hear sliding around in the big storage compartment down here. If I start using the brake pedal myself, it actually feels quite good. I really do like how this brake pedal feels. I'm not only surprised with the braking performance of the overall vehicle, just how quickly the vehicle can slow down by me applying the brake pedal, just like right now. So not only do I like the braking performance, but the modulation of the brake is just as important as the braking performance of the vehicle itself. Because if you have a vehicle that performs very well when it comes to braking, but the brake pedal itself feels bad, whether you have to get in on the pedal too much, or the brake pedal is too touchy, or something else entirely, then what's the point of having a vehicle that can brake good if every time you go in to brake, the brake pedal doesn't feel good? That's why it's so important to get both of those elements right. The braking performance of the vehicle overall, but also the modulation of the brake pedal as a whole. And in this case, Chevy got both of those very, very right. I'm actually quite surprised by just how good the entire vehicle feels under braking, like right now, and just how good this brake pedal modulation is. So I don't have to get too far into the brake pedal to begin to feel the impact of the braking, right? That is actually very good, and that's what this is, you know, the modulation part of the equation is all about. If I may go on a quick tangent, GM has been hitting it out of the ballpark in its most recent vehicles when it comes to brake performance and the brake pedal modulation. It has been a home run with every new vehicle launch that GM has done. I'd say over the past, roughly the last decade. So this is a very welcome pattern, in my opinion, when it comes to the GM's vehicles. That's really good. One thing that I do find a bit curious is that although the Silverado EV does have one pedal driving, it does not have a regen on demand paddle. And that would be something that I would personally welcome being an addition to the truck in subsequent model years, just because if someone, you know, for instance, in my case right now, I don't really feel like driving in one pedal driving mode right now. I don't feel like keeping my foot on the throttle and keeping that control there at the moment. So what I'd prefer is to have one pedal driving mode off and then simply using the paddle for slowing down and therefore getting the energy back into the battery pack that way. But unfortunately, that is not the case, at least for the 2024 model year of the Silverado EV work truck. By comparison, the Silverado EV RST does have a regen on demand paddle, so there is that. Making a turn, there's not that much body roll here. Surprisingly little amounts of body roll, actually. And combining with that little amount of body roll, you also end up with something where you can actually just carve into a turn. So you go into a turn, like I just did. There's not that much body roll. You come out of it, kind of like you would in a sports car. You come out of it and you accelerate. You don't have to wait for the vehicle to stabilize itself, to find its footing, to figure out what's going on, which way is left, which way is right. No, none of that needs to take place here at all. And again, this is a work truck. This is not a performance version. I mean, if this is how well the work truck drives, I can just imagine how well other models, other trim levels, higher trim levels of the Silverado EV will drive. So as a takeaway, to me, the Silverado EV is the best of both worlds. It marries the size, the pickup body style, the capability of the Silverado, and it actually has more capability in some cases than the internal combustion engine Silverado. It marries all of that together with an electric powertrain. And so there you get the instantaneous torque, instant acceleration, all of that. You get all of that right at once. So a very good effort by Chevrolet, a very good effort indeed when it comes to its first electric pickup truck.
MOTROLIX.